was waiting for more horns. Hello, this is Andy over at Falco Canine Academy and the Covid19 TV show. I'm simulcasting on both networks, so to speak. So I'll lay a little bit of groundwork. I'll kind of explain my history for those of you that don't know my history. Those of you that know me, I'm sorry you have to sit through a little bit of it just so that people that are maybe watching for the first time can understand why I may somewhat know what I'm talking about in this area. So, my name is Andy Falco Jimenez. I'm the owner of Falco Canine Academy. I've been training police dogs, bomb dogs, narcotics dogs, bed bug detection dog, peanut detection dogs, E. coli, salmonella detection dogs, and cell phone detection dogs for about 30-something years, a little bit over 30 years. And over the last 2 months, I guess, 2 months, something like however long we've known about the COVID-19 virus, I slowly began to get these inquiries, people saying, hey, can you train a dog to find this thing? And then it's become more and more prevalent. And about every day, somebody will either tag me on a Facebook post or send me something from Instagram or somewhere else or a blog and say, hey, there's people training COVID-19 dogs. Are you doing that? Or what do you think? Can you do that? I'm going to give the answer. You're probably going to be shocked at what I'm about to say. So I testify in court cases all over North America. I've testified in hundreds of court cases involving detection dogs and review training records, videos of dogs working, and determine the credibility of both the human being and the effectiveness of the dog, and whether the search that I see or am evaluating is done correctly. And so I see a lot of video. I see a lot of training records. I see a lot of different crazy things done. I see stuff that's not even done, right? And so I'm coming to you from a point of a court-recognized expert. I've written a few books on the subject matter and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? So I hope that lays enough. I don't want to go much further than that because there's other stuff. All right. Other good stuff, other stuff that would tell you that I've seen and have knowledge on this topic. And so I'm going to answer a few questions. We're going to go through these check marks because all of them are important. Just because a dog maybe can do this thing doesn't mean necessarily that we can do it or it should be done and that kind of stuff. So I think it's necessary to go through these. I thought a lot about the different things I'm going to address here because I could come on and just say yes or no and then, end the broadcast and then you go, oh, okay, I don't understand why. Why is this? Because if this, why not that? Because of other things. All right. So let's go ahead and go through some of these things that I laid out. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry, I don't have it. I promise. I feel great. I just woke up from a nap, which is kind of crazy that I have this much energy right now. All right. So, wow, I'm on the wrong thing. Hold on. Stand by while I find my notes. Here we go. All right. So let's start with this one. It's going to show up, I promise. There it is. Can a dog detect molecule? What is happening here? There we go. Can a dog detect a molecule or series of molecules? Is it possible for a dog to be able to detect little tiny microscopic, it could be, I don't know if you can describe the virus itself into molecules. I think you can. I'm not a scientist on that area, but there's got to be some type of scent coming off this thing, whatever it is. Everything has an odor. We've determined in training peanut detection dogs, of course, we can take and just take the residue. If I take peanuts in my hand, and then I've demonstrated this on a YouTube video, which you can find if you do a search, and then put the peanuts down, wipe my hands off like this, and then pick up a remote control and then set it down in the room, have a peanut detection dog come in and search that room, and the dog will alert to the fact that I touched this remote. And this could be an hour later, 2 hours later, the dog can detect the microscopic molecules of the odor of peanuts that I left on this remote control. Have I done it? Yes. And have I tested it? Yes. So we've been able to do that. In the case of E. coli salmonella detection dogs, which I've been able to train, we don't train, and I'm going to come back to this, we never trained on the E. coli or the salmonella, never took that bacteria out of a laboratory and placed it anywhere and then conducted a search. Never did that. But there are substances that lead to the E. coli salmonella detection contamination in produce, like spinach, cilantro and that kind of stuff. So when I was approached by the state of California and said, Andy, can you do this thing? I searched out for a grant. We got a grant. It was a couple $1 million grant. And for 5 years, we studied the ability of the dog to be able to locate the contamination of Salmonella E. coli. And we were able to do that and show that it was very effective. We had some dogs doing some amazing stuff. Why have you never seen it? I'll probably share why, a little bit about the backstory on that later on, as to why you still don't see these dogs doing it. And we were successful. Why? Why do we not see these dogs? Part of it is your guess is as good as mine, but I have some reasons why to do that. So can a dog do this? Yes, we've been able to study that. Why can a dog do this? Why is it possible that a dog do this? Well, this because of this. A dog has a olfactory system that is beyond our capabilities as human beings. And I'm just going to go, this is just one graphic that will share a little bit, a few of the reasons why. A dog's nose olfactory system is, the surface is about 30 times that of a human being's. The receptors, there's 6 million receptors in a human's olfactory system and 250 million in a dog's. So 6 million, us, versus 250 million, which is a dog's. That little brown thing that looks like, I don't know, like a Rorschach. Is that Rorschach test that you take? That's an ink blot test. I think it's called Rorschach. That's what that looks like, right? Well, that's a cross section of the dog's olfactory system. The receptors kind of sliced down, and the surface level is huge. It's huge and it's just gigantic in comparison to ours. If you were to take and lay it all out, it would be gigantic. The vomeronasal nasal organ is something a dog has, and that separates the odors of the pheromones in other dogs. So it checks out other dogs. That's why you see dogs smelling trees and the ground, and tasting and licking certain things, because they also taste with their mouth and their nose. But that's separate. That's a separate olfactory component of the dog's olfactory system. It's separate. It's important because you don't want a dog confusing the other odors that are in the world, and then all the ones that are related to mating and protection are done. The pheromones is done in a separate section of the olfactory system. It is amazing. There's also a separate part of the brain. They have a much larger olfactory a bulb in their brain. It's 8 times, I think it is, or 3 times larger than a human's. And it's interesting because their olfactory bulb is 3 times larger than ours, but the brain, the overall brain, the humans is 10 times larger. So the dog brain is 10 times smaller, yet the olfactory bulb is 3 times larger. Also, the nostrils, which you can see down in the lower left-hand corner, they're stereo, and they smell separately. So the right nostril smells separately than the left nostril. And so that's why it's much easier for the dog to tell whether an odor is coming from the right or left, or north or south or east or west, because of the nostrils smelling separately. And they both, in the dog's olfactory system, has a way of smelling so that it smells odor as it's coming in and as it's exiting. And the odor coming in, it doesn't interfere with the air coming out because of the slits on the side, as you can see, that are shown there by the arrows that are on there. And so that is pretty powerful. That's just some of what makes the dog's olfactory system so far superior to ours. If you have any questions, by the way, I would really love it if you would comment, even if you're just saying hi, even if you're just telling me where you're watching from. That really helps with this video to get seen by people that would not normally see it. It sends it out. All Facebook likes, comments, and engagement and that kind of stuff. So if you share, that would be great. If you would comment, that would be great. If you put some type of emotion of wow, or oh, or sad, or you're an idiot, or whatever you want to say, that's fine. I don't care. Just put something. That would be great. And so, can the dog do it? And so I'm going to get a red marker here. I thought I had a red marker. Where's my red marker? And so, sorry, I'm back. So let's put a big check mark here. Yes, the dog can do it. We can train a dog to find something that's microscopic that we would not be able to see with our naked eyes, as long as it has an odor. And I would guess that somehow, some way, that this thing, because it has to exist, right? It has to be, there has to be something to be seen under a microscope. And that thing should have some unique odor fingerprint. It should. I don't know for sure, but I'm telling you that in my research and things that I've done, that everything has a unique odor. Now, there's some that are very close related. However, there are everything tends to have a little bit of a unique scent fingerprint, is what we call it, so that it's unique to that very thing. The great thing about the dog's olfactory system is it has that ability to distinguish between one odor and another. And so it's really, really cool. All right, let's go on to the next question that we need to answer before we can determine whether we can have a COVID-19 detection dog. Again, please comment, please ask any questions. I would really, really, really appreciate it. So is there a use? Wow, it's a long delay between me clicking the banners and them coming up. Is there a use for a COVID-19 detection dog? If it's possible, then there is a use. All right. So yes, if it's possible to train a dog, and it is possible to train a dog to do this, I believe. But there's some other things that are really important to know in the sense of, can we do this? But would there be a use? And the answer is yes. I had to wait for this one thing to download. And let me see if I can find it. Where is it? What did I do with it? I just downloaded a video. Oh my gosh. Let's see if I can find it. And I'm going to show you a dog searching a church, which would be one of the uses I think that would be great for a dog. Let's see if this is it. There's another way of using video on these broadcasts, and I tried it, and for whatever reason, it was glitching and not working. So let's see if this is the video. It downloaded correctly. I'm so sorry, but something is going on. If you're seeing me glitch for some reason and it's not showing, and I need people to comment. Oh, you know what's happening? I've completely forgot. Facebook is still having problems with videos in a broadcast not showing comments. So sorry. So continue to comment. I may not be seeing them, but it's okay. That I don't see them. But it is a problem with Facebook right now. It's not showing. If you're on YouTube, I noticed, or Twitter, and you're commenting, I can see those. I just can't see any comments from Facebook. I'm going to try to go to a Facebook page and check out some of the comments, because I do want to answer any questions that people might have. And I'm not sure why my video that I put on here, because I want to show you how it is that a dog can actually do this. I think it would be important to show that. Why these things aren't happening the way that I want them to, I don't know. But for every reason, it's not. So you know what I'm going to end up doing? I'm going to end up showing you this video, but there's not going to be any sound. So I apologize. So let me go ahead and share my screen. It's just you're not going to be able to hear what's going on. All right. So this is a dog in a church. All right. And again, I'm so sorry. I hope I hope that the broadcast is actually showing. I just having little problems here. All right. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. And here is a dog doing a search. I believe you can hear me. And so what the dog is doing, you can see the dog off leash searching for bed bugs. And so there's like a little tiny bed bug, one little bed bug that you probably could barely see with your eyeballs. The dog went past over there. This was the dog that was in training. And you can see the use. So if we had a dog that could find COVID-19, it would be great. And this is a children's, one of the children's rooms at my church, at Friends Church in Yorba Linda. They allow us to use the area for dog training. And so this dog is searching around looking for bed bugs. The dog is looking for something that I hid in the room. It's one little single tiny little bed bug. And you can see the dog's effectiveness of sniffing around. The dog knows what to do. And then when the dog finds it, he will sit. He'll actually sit. And I put it in a book. And his reward is that tennis ball. All right. So would that be useful? Would that be useful for us to have a dog that could go inside of a classroom, search it, or a church? And because we have videos of the dog going in, I'm going to turn this on. I have an annoying voice when I'm training dogs, apparently. And so let me stop that. And so that would be great, right? If we could take a dog and send it into a grocery store, if we could send the dog into a church, if we could send the dog into a movie theater and sniff all the seats and tell us if there's any seats that are contaminated with COVID-19. Great, right? Wouldn't that be fantastic? Yes, it would be fantastic. And so we're going to put a little check mark there, because I'm telling you that in the vial where that dog was searching was just a simple little tiny little nymph of a bed bug, a little tiny little thing. And the dog was able to do that. So is there a use for the dog? Yes. Yes, that would be great. That's why people are getting excited. And that is one of my concerns as I'm seeing stories about people saying, we're training COVID-19 detection dogs. And I go, okay, you really are. And because people know that there's a use, and there's people that probably know that if it's possible, that it could be done, right? It could be done to train a dog to do this. And so, Andy, you're saying, well, if it can't be done and there is a use, then why not? How would it be handled? I think it would be handled probably off leash, just like this. And so the handler could stand back and watch the dog search and look for things. That's how the dog would handle the dog. Sometimes he could do it on leash if he has to. And so again, it's possible, just like a bomb dog, right? People would say possibly that if you're going to search for bombs, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for you and the dog. Well, yeah, that's kind of our job as law enforcement, is to go where people would normally go. But our job is to make sure that other people will be safe once they enter a location. And so quite often we do it with long lines. So the dog is really far away from us. And so at the end of this 30-foot line or 40-foot, 50-foot line, you have this dog searching so that we're kind of safe behind a car. And the dog is out there searching for mines, searching for bombs on a car and that kind of stuff. The dog may, trigger it. That's just what happens. That's what the dog is for. And so the dog goes out there and searches. And so we could do it on long line. We can stand at the doorway. We could send the dog in off leash. And so we could do it. And so could it be done with a handler? Is it possible? And how would we do it? Well, there is an answer to that, and we would able to do that. There's all kinds of ways that we could use the dog to do that. And we could be in a position of safety and having the dog go in there and search and find it. We're going to talk about whether it's safe for the dog or not a little bit later on. All right, so far we got 3 check marks, right? And people are getting excited. People are saying, wow, this is going to be fantastic. You mean we can have a dog go into church and tell us whether it's COVID-19? We can test people going in, and we could be really, really safe, right? That would be fantastic if we could do that. I'm going to go to Facebook really quick and see if I can see any comments that are coming up, because I have a feeling people are commenting. It's just I can't see them, unfortunately. The only problem is I can only go on one Facebook page at a time. So I'm going to check my... safe for canine and handler to work COVID-19 ? Good. That is a good question. I guess it's you and I, April. Yeah. So there's other comments coming out. I can't see all of them. Canine could also inspect lab samples. Right. Maybe. And then Sherry says, hello, she's one of my dog handlers who has a bed bug detection dog. All right. So let's go ahead and come back to this. All right. So is there a way that they could do it? Yes, there is a way that they can do it. Okay. Here comes the biggie though. What is the training aid substance, and is it safe? This is where we hit a little bit of a hiccup. Now, this is one of the problems. And I'm going to talk about a few things here that I've run into in the past that makes this part of it the undoing of the project for the most part. For the E. coli salmonella detection dogs, which is actually the contamination that causes it. And the reason we went to that is because there's no way that we could safely, no one was willing. Again, I had a couple $1 million grant through UC Davis, which is in Northern California, a fantastic university, and with the approval of the state of California and the Food and Drug Administration of the United States. We are all working together to determine whether a dog could do this thing. The one thing that we could never come up with is a way to search for and use a training aid that had E. coli or salmonella, the actual bacteria that causes illness and sickness. That there was nothing that we could come up with between all the scientists, all the people that we were working with in UC Davis, the FDA, the state of California, Department of Public Health, and me. Between all of us, we were trying, how can we take E. coli and salmonella and use it as a training aid and take and hide it in places, put it on lettuce, and then what's the safe protocol for doing the training, even in a laboratory environment, so that it didn't get on the tip of the dog's nose, somebody handling it didn't, contaminate something else, and then it escaped from the laboratory. We don't want to be the next. Well, there was no Wuhan the city was there, but there was no Wuhan issue back then. But we didn't want to be the first Wuhan, right? We didn't want to be the first ones doing this thing. And then I'm traveling home with salmonella, E. coli all over the dog and all over me, and then spread it around. The United Kingdom had me flown out to the United Kingdom and Ireland, and we met with some of the top scientists for their food safety group, and they were worried. Hey, what do you mean you're training this dog? And at that point, we had decided we can't do it, and so we're just training on the contamination, which is what? Fecal contamination. Yes, that's right. I was training a dog to find poop is what I was training a dog to find. We found bird poop, deer poop, boar poop, human poop. We found, what else were we using? Did I say deer? I think I did. Rabbit. There's a couple other, coyote. I can't tell you all the different kinds, all kinds of different animals I had a dog trained to find all these things. How hard was that? It was a little bit harder than you think. To my house, I was shipped crap on a fairly regular basis. I would get a box and people, oh, what'd you get? I got poop. Excuse me, what did you say? Yeah, I got some deer poop. I got some boar poop. I got some human poop. I can't use my poop because the dog can find my poop. We need to find somebody else's poop. And so, yes, so we that's what we did. That's not that safe either, by the way. I rarely open the jar. Sometimes I had to open the jar to take a little bit of the solution. It would be a slurry of a mixture of poop and then singled out poop. You kind of do both. And there's a whole other next explanation between why I did that. The soup and the separate, but you would take a little Q-tip, take it out, and you have to wear a mask and all this kind of stuff, and then put it on little Q-tips or put it on the tip of a toothpick, and then go hide it, and then have the dog find it. But that was the only way we could do it. So why do I tell you that story? Because where in the world, this is the problem, because I keep running into this. People go, I see stories where people are saying they're training a COVID-19 dog. Where are they getting the training sample? What are they using? Bats? Because I'm not sure that you can be successful if you're just training. And again, I'm going by what I've heard in the news, that this somehow came from a bat, right? A fruit bat of some sort or something like that. Are they taking the body parts of a bat or the poop of a bat or the blood of a bat that has COVID-19? No, they can't. You can't. I'm telling you, you can't do this safely. You would have to have just a bat, right? If the bat is the source, you'd have to train the dog to find bat, but it doesn't necessarily mean if the dog can find the bat that has the COVID-19 that there's going to be COVID-19. It may give you a place where you can use a Q-tip to test to eventually find out if there's COVID-19. But because it comes from a bat doesn't mean that COVID-19 smells like a bat. All right, so this is where we run into the biggest problem of all. What are these people that are claiming, because I've seen stories that there are people training dogs for COVID-19, and I know there's people like tuning off and say, I don't want to know. I just want to think a dog can do it. No, I'm telling you that they need to show what it is they're using for a training aid. What you're going to run into and what you're going to see is people aren't willing to give up the information as what they're using. Why? Because the canine world is full of very dishonest people. And I have been, unfortunately, around a very long time, and I've been around people that have been very dishonest about what it is they're doing and what it is they're not doing, and to the success. And they've claimed success when there is no success. Again, I've seen it. And so how can people say that they've trained a dog to do this and then fool people into thinking? Well, they can say that they have a training aid that's COVID-19 or it smells like COVID-19. They hide it somewhere. The dog goes and finds it and say, see, my dog's trained to find COVID-19. How is it that you as the observer, even somebody of knowledge, a professor at a university or not the press because they're not very knowledgeable, anybody, right? Anybody, how are they going to prove that wrong? They're going to have to take that vial and take it and have it tested and find out what it is that's in there. And what they're going to find out is that it's something, right, that they're going to say is related. Well, it's a bat. It's bat pee, or it's bat, blood. It's bat poop. The same bat that created the COVID-19. That's not good enough. I'm telling you, you cannot depend on somebody's life and health and wellness by a dog trainer, right? Saying that she was able to find the one thing that they could use for COVID-19. Another thing that commonly is out there is pseudo stuff, pseudo heroin, pseudo cocaine, pseudo C4, pseudo dynamite that people use for training dogs. Now, I was able to prove just the other day that pseudo whatever is probably not likely going to work either, because until the dog finds the real thing, you can never show that the dog trained on pseudo is properly trained to find something that is real. The thing is, what's important to know, which many dog trainers and handlers that have only trained on pseudo are unwilling to tell people, is that their dog is never trained to find the real thing. because it's hard to get a DEA license. It's hard to get an ATF type license. Now, I've been fortunate that I've had both, and I've been able to train on real explosives, real narcotics all the time with our dogs because I never felt comfortable training on pseudo. Do I know people that create pseudo, and do I like those people? Yes, they're friends of mine. I know some of these people that do a really good job, but you need to train on the real stuff first, and then the dog will find the pseudo. The pseudo is a replacement for when you go into an elementary school and you don't want to take C4 and other high explosives and take a chance of leaving something behind, or heroin, for instance. When we go to elementary school, you don't necessarily want to take a baggie of heroin, put it in a child's desk and accidentally forget it and then leave. And then when school starts on Monday, then the child sitting at that seat finds the heroin. You don't want that to happen. So what do? We take pseudo, use the pseudo in replacement of doing the real thing, but that's because we've already trained the dog to find the real stuff. Because understand that pseudo is missing something, or else it would be real, right? If it's not real, then it's missing something. And quite often, because the dog is, and this is the reason why I started with how powerful a dog's nose is, with that graphic and showing that dog's nose is incredibly powerful. It can tell the difference between pseudo and real. The thing is, if you train on real, the dog will find pseudo, and it's good enough for replacement for keeping the dog sharp for doing searches and finding stuff and that kind of stuff, but it'll never replace real. I'm telling you, I know people are going to tell you, and I know there's probably going to be somebody watching this go, yeah, Andy's full of crap. If you do pseudo, it's good enough. It's not. I just did it the other day. 3 days ago, somebody came here and wanted me to evaluate their dogs, and the only thing the dog has ever been trained on is pseudo, from a very well-known pseudo manufacturer. I'm not going to say the name, who uses pseudo for a lot of other things. I said, okay, well, in my house, I hid real bed bugs. So in my house, I had real bed bugs hidden. They were using pseudo bed bugs. The dog never even showed a behavior change, barely showed any interest in searching the area where it was hidden. It may have slowed down a little bit, but the dog kept going because the dog had only been trained on pseudo. And it just proved that just 2 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago. And I've done it over my history of training dogs. So this is the longest segment because it's the most important thing. All right, this is the most important. I wish I could see the comments now because I'm wondering if there's somebody saying, Andy, you're full of crap, because it's possible that there is. But I'm telling you, you cannot certify. Dogs only should and only will, as far as I'm concerned, will only be certified a properly trained dog if they're certified by using only real explosives, real narcotics, and that dog finds all of them. That's the only way a dog can get certified. You cannot certify a dog using pseudo. Now, the dog could maybe been trained on pseudo, but that's fine. But he's not certified until he finds real, right? You can't certify a dog on pseudo. So train the dog on pseudo and then hide pseudo and then try to certify a dog on pseudo. That is not a reliable detection dog. I am sorry. And I know there's people that will disagree with me, but I'm telling you, I am sorry, but the dog has never found an actual bomb if he's not found an actual bomb. The dog has not found heroin unless he's found actual heroin. All right. So that's it. I'm telling you, COVID-19 has to be present. There has to be something to make that happen. And I'm telling you, it is not safe. Nobody will allow you to do it. I've tried to remember. I go back now to E. coli salmonella, which apparently is dangerous, right? But I don't know that it's not nearly as dangerous as COVID-19. Having a guy drive around in a case or in a toolbox or in a tackle box or a pelican box with a bunch of vials of COVID-19. Are you going to drive around with a pelican box of COVID-19, hiding it in a church for a dog to search and locate? Are you going to hide it in the school? Are you going to hide it in all those locations that you need to train in? Another thing is that you need to train in the locations where the dog is going to be used. You have to. You can't just train at home. I know these guys that use this stupid wheel, this wheel thing that is in the dog training world. Those of you that have been around know what I'm talking about. It is the dumbest thing you can start a dog on it. You can have it as part of your regime, but it cannot be a regular and the only thing your dog is trained on. Well, so that's where we put it because we can control it. But no, the dog has to learn how to search a home, has to learn to search a church, has to learn to search a school, a grocery store with food distractions, human odor distractions, tennis ball distractions, beef jerky distraction, dog food distractions, all these kinds of things. And it has to happen in a real environment. And so nobody will ever allow you, as a dog trainer or a dog handler to take a sample of COVID-19 in a vial and go place it in a grocery store or place it in a church. If you do, you're crazy. You're crazy for allowing somebody to come in and hide COVID-19. Oh, it's safe. It's just pseudo. Well, then it's not COVID-19. It's something else that the dog has never been trained to find. And I hope I'm not beating this up too much, but I hope that I'm beating it up enough so that we really understand that you have some people out there that are going to claim that they're doing something when I know for a fact they are not. At least they don't have the approval of any agency that I was ever involved in, which is the FDA, the state of California Department of Public Health, and where was I in the UK? I forgot what they called their organization. Even in Hawaii, everybody's worried with the salmonella and contamination and what I was using for a training aid. And when we explained to them, we can't. It's not safe. It's impossible to do that safely and to do it in a realistic way so that you have these samples. The only thing you can do is something else. You have to find the thing that leads to it, or that you have to find something that seems to be consistent with it. And as far as I know, I don't know of anything that's consistent with COVID-19 other than COVID-19. Again, I go back to the bat. What are you going to do? Hide the bat's urine, the bat's. And again, if it's a contaminated bat, then now you're back to the COVID-19. You can't take a contaminated bat and travel around, or else we're back into the situation again, right? So, as far as I know, and I hate saying never. I really do hate saying never because there's always a possibility to do something. But right now, I don't believe there's ever going to be a way to train with COVID-19 in a way that we can train a detection dog. Can a dog do it? I think so. Is there a use for? Yeah, there's a use for the dog. Is there a way that we can handle? Is there a technique? Yes, there's lots of ways. A long line, off leash, while we stand outside and look through a window, watch the dog go in and go, God, I hope he doesn't find any. Yeah, you can do that. But this is where we have to do, unfortunately, one of these things. We have to just say, no, there's no training aid. The next thing is it's safe for the handler. I don't think so, right? At some point, you're going to have to go in. At some point, you have to be there. You're going to be present. You're going to have to touch the dog when the dog comes out because it's also not safe for the dog based on what I've heard right now because tigers have caught COVID-19. We know that there's been some dogs, I believe, that have caught COVID-19, or at least they've been tested positive for COVID-19, and cats tested for COVID-19. And so when you're using, these are the areas that we run into a big problem when we run into this. So let's say you could train a dog, and let's just say that a dog couldn't catch it. Right. Let's just say for whatever reason, the dog repels COVID-19 from him getting it internally. He may get it on his coat, right? Because it stays on plastic surfaces for a period of time, stainless steel surfaces of what I understand for a period of time. It's going to stay on the surface of the dog. And so the dog comes out of the search area with COVID-19 on the tip of his nose, on his fur, on his ears, on his paws, and then gets in the car with the handler. Who's going to get it next? It's going to be the handler. So these areas right here, unfortunately, is going to make it impossible to train a COVID-19 dog. And I'm sorry to say that because I want a dog to solve the world's problems, always. But I'm here on a practical sense, and the answer is no, and the answer is no. All right. And so that for me, it's an impossibility. I don't think that I have seen. Okay. Let me start that sentence. I have not seen anything that gives me any indication as to a way of doing this safely. Remembering that if we want to be, so let me go back now. I'm going to go back to the peanut detection dog. So I had this girl, her name's Kendall. You saw her. She was on one of my shows and she was singing. She has to be fed through a tube in her belly. That's how bad her allergies are to certain types of food. One of those things being peanuts, which will kill her if she comes in contact with the peanut odor. If she smells it, if she comes in contact with it, she has a very high probability of dying. And they came to me and said, Andy, can you train a dog to detect peanuts? And I said, yes, of course we can do that. But the pressure, right? The pressure that I had, and I had to be honest with them every step of the way with this dog that they had. The dog I wouldn't say was the best candidate. The dog that they brought to me was their pet dog, and they so badly wanted this pet dog to be successful because this dog had a story. The dog had been rescued in Compton in a crack house and as a puppy with a bunch of other puppies. And this dog so badly, and they wanted this dog so badly to work. Because they had the dog had been rescued, the dog had a story, and now the dog was going to be used to save her life. And I go, oh, but this dog does not have everything that it takes. At least if you're going to want me to train the dog, they also been taken advantage by a trainer before it came to me. This person that they had paid and thought knew what they were talking about had no success in training this dog. And they gave the dog trainer lodging in their home to help the process of training. Nothing ever happened. So they were already taken advantage of by a trainer who said they could do something they couldn't do. One thing I was and told them I would always be is honest, that this dog had some shortcomings and that you need to understand what the dog's shortcomings are, because I don't want to be the one responsible to tell you that this dog has everything possible. This dog, I guarantee, will save her life. We'll never let her go into a location where there's peanuts, and she will never die from peanuts, because as long as she has this dog with her, nothing will ever happen to her. I never told them that, ever. I told them the dog had shortcomings and that the dog would be helpful. And it's possible the dog but you still need to be vigilant. And the mom was in also caring. So the dog is just another tool. It's like a flashlight. Is a flashlight going to save you life when entering a SWAT member's life, when entering a building that it's going to locate the person with the gun? No. The flashlight is one tool that is helpful in the search of a building for an armed suspect. The flashlight's not going to save the SWAT member's life. The same thing as that dog. The dog is not necessarily going to save her life. The dog did end up saving her life probably 2 or 3 times that I know of for sure. It could be more than that, because the dog alerted to the presence of peanuts when they thought they had cleared the room and there was some peanuts there. So did the dog do it? Yes. But there was no way that I was going to say, based on what I knew about what I knew, is that dog was a guarantee to save her life. And that is a lot of pressure. So now we go to COVID-19. Are you going to be willing to take a dog handler's word, a dog trainer's word, that this dog has been trained on COVID-19 after what I've told you? What do they use? When you ask them, you say, well, what do you use for a training aid? They go, well, it's what's the word that most of them use? It's proprietary. It's proprietary and we can't tell you. No, that's BS. You can tell us, right? I was told that about bed bugs. I was told about, we train mold detection dogs. I forgot to tell you that. So we trained mold detection dogs for about 15 years. They were very popular. We still have a couple mold detection dogs out there that are working today. And they can work. They can find mold. They find black mold. They find Asperilla, Sarsaparilla, Kawasha. We had 49 different molds that we trained dogs to find. 49 different ones? Yes, because they were all somewhat related and it was actually pretty easy. But when I first got into that business and asked somebody who was claiming that they were training mold detection dogs, I asked them, a professional, another police officer on the other side of the country, and said, what are you using for training? He goes, it's proprietary. We can't tell you. Really? What do you mean? I mean, do you use mold on bread? Do you take mold out of the bread out of the cupboard and that's what you use to train a dog to find mold? Oh, no. We don't do that. Well, what do you use? Well, I can't tell you. It's proprietary. And that's all you would ever hear. Nobody would ever tell it. None of the guys that were doing it would ever tell you what it was. And then you'd find out later that they were BSing you, is a better way of saying than what I was going to say. And then so we had to go to another University of Washington, I believe. No, where did we go? I think it was Washington, where they had whatever they call the scientist who is a specialist in molds, whatever his name is. I forget what they call it, epidemiologist. I forget what they call it. But anyway, he was a specialist in molds. He was like the renowned person in molds, and he was able to grow molds, and he was able to put it on different kind of substrate and, drywall and wallpaper. I'm looking at my wallpaper. There's a little corner that's starting to fall off over there. Wallpaper, and they put on a bunch of different things and put in a little cup. And then it was like a cup inside of a cup. And it's, again, molds are just as dangerous to kind of work with, and you want to be careful, but they're not as instantaneously getting you sick and making you die. You have to be in the environment of mold for long periods of time to have issues, right? But we were able to train. I had this big case of all these 47 different molds, and we were able to train with these molds and put them in places and that kind of stuff, and make sure we counted them. And we had like a little checklist. We go through 1 through 49, making sure that there was none of them missing out of the thing. We're still very careful, but they're not as dangerous as E. coli, salmonella, or COVID-19. But we were able to train that stuff. But to get somebody to explain, no. And when somebody asked us, well, what do you use? We use mold. Do you see the difference? Like if somebody came to us and says, what are you using for a training aid? And I'd open, I go, mold. We got it from Professor such and such from Washington, state of Washington. I forget which college we went to, University of Washington. I can't remember which one, but we went to him, and they would be able to follow up. They would be able to say, okay, Andy over in Brea, California, who claims to have mold detection dogs, says he comes to you for mold. Oh yes, he purchases the molds from us. We make sure that they're viable and they are exactly what it is. It says on the side, the strain of mold, and we would able to say that's where we got them from. because I think that's important, right? If you hire me to come into your home and say, hey, can you bring your mold detection dog? We're having like flu-like symptoms and we can't seem to get past these flu-like symptoms. And you ask me as a dog handler and the trainer at Falco Canine Academy, the owner of Falco Canine Academy, and you say, I just want to make sure that you train on the strain of mold that's causing me problems. Where do you get your molds? If I told you as a person suffering from an illness being caused by the thing you want me to find, and I said, oh, it's proprietary, I can't tell you, you should be, red flags should be going off. You should be saying, well, I want to make sure that I'm, at $300 a square foot that you're searching that, number one, that it's worthwhile. Number two, that your dog actually can find what you say it can find. But how can I do that if you're telling me it's proprietary information? Well, that's because it is, and I don't want to get it out, and it's very important that I keep it. No, that's all bullshit. Sorry, it is BS. All right. So when they would ask me, I'd say, yes. So we get our molds here. Here's the training aids. Here's all the labels and where they came from. You can contact a professor at the university, and he can tell you more. I'm not a scientist in the area of molds. I'm simply a dog trainer who has entrusted that these training aids. I've trusted that these training aids are exactly what they say they are, and he is a respected moldologist, whatever you call those people, and he has made sure that, and they can go back and look at all of his books. He's written tons of books on mold and research and all that kind of stuff, and so that's all you can do. If you're going to somebody and say, hey, and they claim to be a COVID-19 detection dog, which is going to happen. I'm telling you, I've been around this. I've known people that have said their dogs can do some fantastic things. I'm going to tell you one more story, and then we're going to call it quits. And because I can go on because I have so many stories. But there is a dog handler in Texas some years ago, a woman dog handler and trainer supposedly, who said that her dog could determine the guilt or innocence of somebody based on the evidence in the case, and the dog would say that knife, undoubtedly would say that the knife used in that murder was that person. And so that one person would be sitting in a room, the dog would smell the murder weapon, go to that person sitting in the room, and the dog would either sit or not sit, which I think in almost every case, the dog went to the person that the police suspected, right? So you have a person in a room that the police suspect is the suspect, and the dog is supposedly trained to smell the knife or the gun or whatever that was the murder weapon, smelled the thing, and then go to that person, and then the dog was the determinator of whether that person was guilty or not, minus a bunch of other evidence. And so in court, they began to believe this woman and say, well, she says her dog determines the guilt and that murder weapon was held by that person. What? Yes, something like 50 or 100 cases. I forget what it was. And this really did happen. And they later discovered that she was full of crap, that she had never trained her dog to do that thing. And the dog, in all the cases involved in that dog, all those cases had to be dropped, and all the people had to be released from jail, whether they were actually the real suspects or not, because they believed this handler. So I'm telling you, these things happen on a regular basis. I have reviewed hundreds of cases across North America, both the United States and in Canada, and have seen some things that just would, unfortunately, make you very, very angry about what some handlers are claiming their dogs can do and they actually can't do, and what they're not doing as far as part of their training. So I'm sorry. I am sorry to tell you that these lower three things are the things that are going to be those things that just make it, at least for right now, impossible to train a COVID-19 dog. Again, there's going to be people out there claiming that they can do it. There's people out there claiming their dog can find cancer. Now, there are some good studies where dogs have been able to do that thing, but there's a lot of people that claim their dog can do it, and they've never been able to prove that their dog can do that kind of stuff. And it's sad. It's unfortunate because there are some people doing some really good work. The dog does have the ability to smell different samples of urine from people that don't have cancer, and one person does, and the dog can show a positive alert on the one that does. But are they consistent? About 70%, 70 to 80%. So I love those studies, and I've been contacted for a couple of documentaries, and I've even spoke in a couple of documentaries about cancer detection dogs, and find that it is something that's pretty interesting. But there's some places where science and research and testing and done in a laboratory with laboratory gadgets, where I think that it's best left in the hands of the gadgets. Are dogs better than bomb detectors at airports? Yes, because there's other things that are involved as you walk through. You got human error, right? You have airflow, you have, people that have bad days and good days. You have other things that kind of come into play because that's an environment that cannot be controlled. When you're testing blood samples and urine samples in a spectrogram and the hemoglobin gram and all these other things, right, that are meant for just that one specific thing in a controlled environment, a laboratory, the likelihood of success is higher. And again, you'll still have human error. You still have some tests that aren't that great, but you're depending on a dog and a human both to be on their game at the same time. That doesn't always happen. I love detection dogs. I think narcotics dogs are fantastic. Bomb dogs are fantastic. When you have a great handler and a great dog and they're on their game at the same time, you have nothing but success. But you have two entities right there that sometimes one of them's having a bad day. The dog can have a bad day, the human can have a bad day, and if both are having a bad day, then you're not going to have great success. That's just a fact of life. And when you're coming to the point where you need this dog to determine whether it's safe to have church or to go, send the kids to school or to go into the grocery store, and that is your sole determinator, that dog and that human being who's having a fight with his wife that morning, who's upset, and now that emotion is going down the leash to the dog, and you're using that as a determinator. I'm not convinced. Well, Andy, what about bomb dogs? Well, there's really not much else you can do. The dog is a very high quality tool in the hands of a good handler, right? You have to have both, right? The cases I get, you don't have both. Sometimes you have a great dog with a lousy handler doing crap work, not keeping up on his training, not doing what he's supposed to do. That is the problem. Sometimes you have a really good handler, but he was given a bad dog and he doesn't have a choice in the matter because the department doesn't care. The department is giving him a dog that shouldn't be in the job. I've seen dogs that look like they'd rather kill themselves than be on a search on the side of the road. Have I seen that? Yes. You have a really good handler really trying to get this dog to search, and the dog is yawning. The dog is peeing on the tire of the vehicle. The dog wants to leave the vehicle as opposed to search the vehicle, and you see the handler really trying to do the right thing, but it's not working. You have a dog that shouldn't be doing the job and having a bad day. Could it be that day the dog's having a bad day? Yes. It could be that day the dog doesn't feel good. Maybe there's a female dog in heat within a mile and the dog can smell it and the dog can't focus. That's just what happens. I'm telling you. But we do depend on dogs in Afghanistan and Iraq at airports and that kind of stuff because they are powerful tools. Yes. So I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying that we all as handlers, when we have a bomb dog, when our dog alerts, we go through in our mind really quickly. So I've done searches for a lot of different events, right? In Hollywood for Oscars, for different stuff. And on the streets as a police officer of 21 years. And my dog will be searching and alert. When it's a bomb dog, it's different than when a narcotics dog alerts. When a narcotics dog alerts, you go, yes, we found the mother lode of cocaine. We're going to take this guy down. He's going to go to jail for 30 years. It's going to be fantastic. When a bomb dog alerts, you go, oh, I train the dogs for Disneyland. When a bomb dog alerts at Disneyland and it sits and then puts his nose on the package, you very quickly in your mind, you go, did I do everything right? Did I step wrong with the foot or something like that and cause the dog to sit? Was my training good this week? Did the dog seem like he was doing good today or she doing good today? Right? If you've ever been a bomb dog handler, when the dog sits and alerts, especially when you're searching a place like Disneyland or the UPS or FedEx facility, and your bomb dog alerts, your brain essentially just fires up and you're trying to figure out, what do we run? Do we stay? When a dog alerts at Disneyland, you have to determine whether you're going to shut down Disneyland. Imagine that pressure with a bomb dog handler. And so just understand, if a dog alerts and he's a COVID-19 dog and you're going to go, did we do everything that we should have done? Are we having a good day? Dogs that are being used in Afghanistan and Iraq, it's a little bit of a different story because they're using them on a daily basis and this is their job. They're focused. That's all they do. They do nothing else. And when a dog alerts, the likelihood of there being a bomb is really high. And so what do? You move back, right? You get the guys that are responsible for taking apart the bombs that put on the suits and the shields and that kind of stuff. You do a dog. Sometimes you open it up and there's nothing there. And that's because there's residual odor from bombs and because it's Iraq and you just kind of know. And every so often a dog alerts and there's nothing there. Every so often your dog alerts and there's 50 pounds of C4 in det cord and a trigger that's getting ready to go off. Right. And so that's a whole different story. But are they 100%? No, No, they're not. Now we add these other things, and we have some other big problems that we can't deal with. So I hope this didn't really disappoint a few people. I'm sure that it did, based on a couple earlier comments I saw. It's funny seeing the numbers on the viewers kind of go up and down as it's going up. I'm not sure why that is. Because there are some people that go, I don't want to know that it's not possible. I want to think it's possible, and I'm going to train the dog. I'm going to be a part of something that's really huge, and I'm going to go on CNN and Fox and CNB, DNC, and I'm going to show them that my dog can do this. I'm going to be the savior of the world with my COVID-19 dog. Okay, you go ahead and do that. But I'm telling you, ask them what their training aid is and how it is they keep it safe and what it is they do. What's their protocol for training this dog to train on COVID-19? Oh, we have this thing. But it's proprietary. We can't tell you how we do it. Okay. Then that's a red flag. Know that we have a problem. Houston. All right. I hope this was okay for you guys. And I hope that it won't stop me getting messages. It never does. I'll get messages from people saying, hey, did you see this guy's training a COVID-19 dog? Okay, go ahead. Have fun with that. Where are you keeping the COVID-19 in your freezer, in your refrigerator? Where are you keeping that virus? And how are you training it so that the dog doesn't come in contact with it? How are you training with it to ensure that it doesn't escape and get into your garage as you're doing training? Or at your facility in Arkansas, wherever you're at? What's the protocol for handling that COVID-19 virus that you're training with? And you tell me that, and then I'll look, I'll listen, I'll be aware. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm so sorry I can't see any comments. None of them are popping up. It's just a little problem with Facebook, not with StreamYard, because they identified that there's a problem with COVID-19. There's a problem with Facebook. All right, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.